Okay, cool. Gonna screen share. If there's a way I can screen share both of them. Okay, this I want, and listings. Oh, look at all the folks joining. This is great. Hey, how are you? You might be mute, actually.
You weren't muted for the.
Oh, yeah, no, I just,
Thought they might be.
I thought maybe like anyone else wanted to chime in with a hello, but it's okay. No need to say hi. Ladies, what's up?
Hi.
Hey. All right. Hello. Okay. So thank you for joining. The Etherpad I will also link to in the video chat. We're recording this on Hangouts on Air, and I'm going to include that link in the Etherpad as well. But there's a weird thing about Hangouts on Air that I can't, I can only share one screen. I can't share multiple screens. So your faces will not be recorded on the Hangouts, just the Etherpad as we update it. So let me find a link. Links. Get this. September 16 should be that link. Great. So thank you everyone for joining. Two things I want to mention before we start the call and go to our regular content. I don't know if we emailed everyone about this, but there's a Gitter chat room just for study groups. So if you want to chat with people or to ask me questions or to ask any of us at the Science Lab questions about your study group, you can ask them in the chat that's on line 22 in the Etherpad. That room should be open to everyone, and that room will get notifications when people fork the study group repository. So don't be alarmed if there's just a random thing that says some username on GitHub forked the repository. You can also just ask human questions. It's not all automated. So feel free. Oh, yay, someone said hello in the study group room. Thank you. Yay, I'm glad everyone's joining. Yay, that's great. Okay, I'm glad you all found the room because I changed the details of the invite to my room now. So thank you for reading directions. On a Friday before a holiday. Well done, everybody. If you could sign in on the roll call around line 51, if you haven't already, that would be great. And also put your name next to the color in the upper right corner. I always forget to remind people, or sometimes I don't forget to remind people, but it's always really nice to see the rainbow of colors. And then when people put comments, then you know who's talking at that time. So that's great. What else did I want to mention before we start? I think that's it. This is the first study group we've had, study group call we've had in like two. Oh, could everyone mute if you're not talking? I'm sorry. You can just hear the typing, and I don't know if it's distracting for anyone. Amit, I think, could you mute on video? Okay, I'm gonna put it in the chat. So originally and usually on the study group calls, somebody hosts that isn't me. And that's great. I love it when the study group leads host the call. But this time Sarah Stevens was going to host, and she couldn't because of her cousin's birthday or something. So if you would like to host the next study group call, feel free to sign in on line 226. There's an opportunity to sign up for that, and I would love to have other people host them. And that just involves reading through the Etherpad. Like, I prepare the Etherpad every time, and you just go through and then point to certain people when the guest speaker's talking and stuff. What else is new? Okay, so there's a section on line 67 that everyone is welcome to contribute to. I just put in a few links of cool things on the internet. This doesn't have to be a totally scripted call. You can also add interesting things that you think you'd like to share with people and start conversations around. So don't feel compelled to only follow the script. You can put in links there to cool things. I just put in some weird Chrome extensions and like motion graphic things. So first time on the call, this is the back to school edition of the call. I think I emailed out that theme to everyone, but let me see if I can, let's see. Yeah, it's a back to school edition. So that means that we're gonna go over like back to school lessons and see how people.
Vocalize one more time.
Yes? Hello? Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to vocalize one more time, and it sounds like somebody did mute. So I was just gonna remind everyone to mute. I did put that in the chat as well.
Yeah. I actually muted someone. I didn't know I could do that in video, but I can. So I just muted somebody. I'm sorry I forcibly muted you, but you can unmute yourself when you want to talk. What else was I going to say? Oh, yes. Normally study groups kind of align with the academic calendar, so there's kind of a drop off in the summer, unless you're in a grad program that continues throughout the summer, in which case some of our more active study groups continue. So this is our first call in a while. We skipped the last one and then the one before last. But we have some important updates to the study group materials, so we wanted to share that with everybody. And we have Xana on the call, who's going to be talking about our onboarding process and some cool new lessons and things. So Xana, would you like to take it away on line 90?
Hi, everybody. I am Xana Marsh. I'm the learning strategist for the Visual Science Lab. And just a second ago, I got bounced out of the call. So if I leave suddenly, I'll try to let you guys know through other channels and get back to you when I can. But if you take a look at the Etherpad on line 91 and 93, we've decided to do a revision to the study group orientation materials. It's basically the study group handbook. And I listed there a couple of goals for doing this for the study group program. So we want to provide a little more info and training and sharing to create a good study group learning environment. And the way it's working right now is pretty much anyone can support the repo, and then you're just off, and the handbook is there for people to use. But we haven't done as much careful follow-up and haven't revisited the materials since we first created them, and particularly we haven't revisited the materials much, I think, with input from people who have been in the program for some period of time. So we're really interested in updating the materials, but also getting your feedback as people who have been in study groups and running study groups yourselves. We also want to promote more knowledge and sharing around open research and open practice and open science. So this is something that wasn't really explicit in the study group materials previously. And then we want to encourage stronger community connections and sharing between groups, especially when groups are co-located regionally, like they're in the same city or town or area. And then finally, we want to start more active groups to start and be sustainable. So we thought by updating materials that we could kind of create a stronger initial kind of kickstart for your group and keep those groups going. And And then also we wanted to provide a little more information about Mozilla, the Science Lab, what it does, and hopefully some better access to Mozilla resources, whether it's design and development expertise, and maybe someday we're hoping we'll have some mini grants to offer study groups um, later on. So those were the goals for updating the orientation materials. And what's new in the materials that starts on line 100 is that we're looking at using a cohort model. So at the beginning of each semester, or probably right around this time of year, fall, and in January, and we'll probably start this in January, we'll encourage a bunch of people to work through the materials together over a period of weeks and sort of have a little community built of study groupers who are working through the LEAD materials all together at once and talking about them, so we get some community built. And obviously, people can do this from all around the world, and they'll have maybe some regular office hours, call in, ask questions, share their thoughts about the material as they go. And again, these materials are actually for the leads of study groups, so for people who are thinking about starting a study group. And that's what the orientation is for, coming in and participating in the study group. These materials for the lead. We're revising the materials now, and there's it's a draft, it's in process, and as it says on line 102, anywhere and everywhere you'd like. It's in Google Docs right now. The sharing should be open, and you should actually be able to edit these materials if you want to. I would prefer that you suggest edits rather than just editing them, and comment anywhere you want. The link on line 104 is to the README, which is an outline of the entire set of materials. And so I'm just going to go through a couple bullet points about what's changed from the initial study group handbook that was created probably in 2014, so about a year and a half ago. So there's what I hope are shorter, more focused modules on a series of topics, and you can see what those are in the README there. There's just an intro to what study groups are. There's a bit about teaching and facilitation. There's something that we're in process right now, which is using GitHub for your group website and for collaboration with version control. There's a pretty extensive section now on Open Science Open Research 101, which I'm really excited about. It covers data sharing, open access publication, code review, collaboration. It just sort of gives an outline of what all those things are, an introduction to them, and then provides some follow-up resources. And so that's something that wasn't quite as explicit in the previous materials. And let me get back to the Etherpad here for a second. And then, so there's also hopefully going to be videos, and I've asked a few people to record videos about their study groups or about a specific topic. So if you feel like you have expertise in a specific topic and you'd like to record a video, I have a really super simple instruction sheet for recording video using open software. There's examples in the tutorial. And so we're looking actually to make the study group materials feel more personal. And just before it was like you came to the website, you read the big handbook, you had no idea there were real people running study groups out in the world. So this gives you a chance to see the different types of study groups that are running in these little videos and get a sense of who's in the community. So we're excited about adding videos to the material. Again, I mentioned the more detailed upfront on open research open practice. There's a link there. There's a more explicit intro to the Science Lab and Mozilla, the Mozilla Foundation, the Mozilla organization more broadly, and what it does. And then I provided a little more detail on the lead role and tone setting for your group. And I've also taken some of the instructions that were in the previous handbook about running sessions and sort of chunked them out. So they're in separate documents that you can then put on your GitHub repo as tips for new facilitators. So in the current model, any information about how to facilitate the sessions was like in the handbook, and someone would have to read the whole entire handbook to sort of find those. But now there's little sections out where there's tips and you can link out to them. So hopefully that'll be useful as you're trying to get members of your group to contribute in lead lessons. I also made an evolved lesson and notes template based on some experience we've had here at the Science Lab with creating a template and I'd love comments on that. See if people think it's useful. It includes like a sense of the level, like beginner, advanced, intermediate, and trying to get a little more context, the glossaries of new terms for their topics. So we're hoping that study group participants and leads can use this template to contribute more lessons to the study group repo, and those lessons will be a little more useful to people from other study groups when they go to find them. They can say, oh, okay, this lesson is appropriate for me or not appropriate for my group, or we're going to have to do a little intro to R before we jump into this lesson or whatever. So, and then finally, we're in the middle of drafting this more materials on GitHub because that seemed to be a stumbling block, and folks we'd love feedback on this. There's space below in Etherpad for this. Seemed to be a stumbling block for some groups because GitHub is so unfamiliar to people, and it can be a little confusing to start. So we're trying to get the right mix of GitHub info and training into the orientation materials for study group leads up front, and we're also hoping to link to some other intro GitHub materials that we've made in the science lab. So that's what's new and different in study group materials. If you have questions and comments on them, you can make them in the materials. You can also do it on line 114. And then I had a couple quick questions starting on line 117. If any of you all have facilitation tips for new session leads or things that you found that are working, there's space for those there. This can be a discussion or a share out if we have time. GitHub for study group leads, what skills are most useful? What did you need to know? What did you want to teach yourself? What's the sort of minimum level for your participants to get used to working with GitHub? And then finally, Aurelia and I had a couple questions about the community calls and just sort of general study group communication. What's been useful to you about these calls? Is there anything you changed? Is there anything you'd like to add? Is there anything you'd like more of? So there's space down here from line 117 down for you guys to comment, and I would love feedback. We can do this now, and I'll check back to this. Check back on this later as well. So one last thing to point out is on line 132, there is a link to a kind of event recorder that the Mozilla Clubs program, which is another program of the Mozilla Foundation, has developed, and it basically it's like a way of showing a little platform for showing all the different events that have happened in the last period of time and recording all the sessions. And we were wondering if we can hack this and repurpose it for study groups. So we're wondering if there's interest in this type of event recording. Basically, you write the date of your event, a little bit of info about what you did, and post a photo. You don't have a photo, obviously there's a placeholder image there, but it's pretty cool, and it shows like all the activity that's happening around the world in the clubs program. The study group program is a bit analogous to the clubs program, so it seems like it could be cool to see all that happening, and so we're thinking about implementing that as well. So any comments on all of these materials is very welcome, and we'll take questions or whatever now. That's it.
Great, Anna, thanks so much. Yeah, folks, if you could fill in any of the details, don't be shy, under line 118. It would be lovely to see the rainbow of all the colors of people making comments on those sections. Because we are really curious, like if you find that the study group calls are, annoying and long or poorly planned, or you wish they did something else, that's really important feedback to let us plan better things that are more useful to you. And if you don't comment, then we'll just continue doing what we do. Or even if your comment is, please just continue doing what you do, at least we will have external confirmation that we should continue doing what we do. So feel free to even just thumbs up things. It doesn't have to be a critique or negative. And a note on the clubs events section under line 134, we'd really like to do this, and the only thing we're looking for, I guess, like at a minimum, is just people giving us feedback about whether they would find that useful to have an event, page all devoted to study group events all over the world. I think it'd be kind of cool, maybe sometime you go on a vacation and you're like, oh, what study group can I pop into? It's also like sometimes a really a strong indictment of what's actually happening in the study groups, because sometimes people fork the repo and you're like, yay, they forked the repo, but then they never host events. And we never really have scope on that because I don't check every single repository to make sure people are doing stuff. And if people aren't hosting events, there might be bigger reasons why, like maybe they're having trouble getting the post directory to work or whatever. And maybe we need to modify our materials to onboard people better. So it all feeds back into the same, like, let's make study groups better and easier. So thank you for adding your comments, everyone. Let me just add this. Oh, and I also wanted to address too, somebody asked a question on line 138, and I don't know who it was. Let's see who it was, what color. Oh, Amit. Okay, yes. You asked about, as an active contributor to various open source projects, you'd like to run an event and you'd like some swag. So we used to have a way to select or to fill out a form to request swag. And that's actually still one of our blog posts is called like Fox swag or something like that. And you can request Science Fox stickers and paper products and things from the science lab that we can easily mail to everyone. But usually for like collaborating on a bigger event, we'd love to hear more details about what the event is, what's going on. So feel free to email us. And I put our email in sciencelab.mozilla or at mozillafoundation.org. So feel free to email us with your request and any details about your event, and we'll happily accommodate you as best we can. So yay, lots of people are adding comments. I'm so happy. So we're gonna move on now, as people are still commenting on those things, down to the study group updates. Thank you, Zana, for your presentation. The materials look great. We're going to go to study group updates on line 148. So I don't think Aza's joined, but Khartoum study group logged an update. So you can read through that on line 151. They're doing a lot of cool new things and really kickstarting their group to start with in September again. So it's all looking great. And Aza's making a video for us, which is really nice as part of our study group onboarding material. So you'll get to hear about what study groups are like in Sudan pretty soon. Madeline, would you like to give an update?
Sure, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So we've just started planning the fall and we have a tentative schedule. Oh shoot, can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My computer was shutting down periodically, so if I suddenly go away, that's why. So that link there is to our tentative schedule. We've moved our meetings one day earlier in the week to Wednesdays, but still every week. We're also kind of talking about how to make the experience smoother for instructors that are coming for the first time. So we want to have a lot of different people give lessons, but make sure that it's easy for them to figure out what to do, and that people who are coming get the same kind of quality that they're used to. So I'm going to put a link for discussion on that, but we're really excited to check out what Zana's done and hopefully work that in. And yeah, things are going well.
Very nice. Bruno, are you on the call?
Yes, hi, I'm here. Sorry about that.
Oh, no worries. Feel free to give us your update.
Make sure let me bump my phone just to be sure there's no feedback.
Okay, cool.
All right, yeah, this is totally not planned, so I'm going to stumble through my words, but I'm just getting some links together. So yeah, we are in the process of planning out our fall semester, and we had the same thing as Madeline, where we're trying to make it as easy as possible for to onboard people who want to lead a session but don't necessarily know how. so for instance, in the summer when I had made a request to the group, so we maintain this mailing list for our study group, and when I sent out an email, well, before that I sent out a survey asking people what they want to learn, trying to generate ideas, and then when we got the list of topics that people want to learn, then I sent another email. Okay, if you have a topic basically that people want to learn, let us know if you want to call dibs on any of them to teach them. And there was actually, I was surprised by the amount of enthusiasm of people wanting to just lead a session, so that was great. So we're gonna, and but one of the things is that summer we had the document we had to help people teach their first lesson was kind of, it wasn't super well structured. It just had a few random tips. And now the second link I posted has a bit more organized, where he's like, what things to do before the workshop, during the workshop, and after the workshop, which I find very helpful. For instance, whenever I lead software carpentry workshops, they have a similar guide, like what to do before, during, after, and it helps to organize myself whenever I am, or like there's so many steps. I would just want to know what's relevant to me right now, and so I found that to be useful. So, but I will definitely go through the new material that Dana was talking about and make sure that either like maybe I can like submit or edit those documents to submit a pull request wherever, depending on where it is, or integrate her material into our guide depending on what what's most appropriate. So yeah, I don't know if there's anything else that I can talk about, but that's it for now.
Hey, just to jump in and say, if you do have materials that you're using, we'd love you to borrow ours, but please link to your materials so we can see what you've got, because we want to improve our materials with your info and feedback. You guys are the experts here, so psyched to see what's there and the link that you just added. Thanks so much.
No worries. I'll definitely. I should do a more diligent job of keeping up to date with this the handbook. It's either just like to read when you first get started, and then you go on and you do your thing, and then you think everything's all right, but you don't. I forget sometimes that the handbook is updated, and there's probably tips that have been added since we first started this group, probably not a year and a half ago, that we can probably benefit from. So I will go back, and if ever I see anything that could, like any ideas that we have that is in the handbook, I'll try and find a way to submit that info.
Yeah. So just to let you know, this is all the materials that I made are all new, and it's all Google Docs right now. So it's separate from the handbook. It's like a complete overhaul. The handbook hasn't been updated, so there isn't anything new because you haven't seen it. But these things are going to move from Google Docs into GitHub really soon. But for now, just feel free to comment. It's just a little easier to edit in Google Docs and GitHub early on, but we're going to put the drafts in GitHub really soon, and you'll be able to make pull requests, but comment in Google Docs for now. And again, the handbooks haven't been updated, so this is a big project for us now.
All right, cool, thanks.
Yeah, another thing too that I think people sometimes forget is that the lessons repo, which is separate from the regular study group repo, it's a part of our repositories on Mozilla Science, and if you search for it, like study group lessons, all one word, I think, some they're camel cased, you can find it, and it has a bunch of lesson materials. But then in the issues, people post usually their like versions of different lessons. So if you want to share back links and stuff to cool lessons you've had, feel free to do that there too. Also, I put a section before we continue on line 174 for any surveys people have sent out. I know Madeline also made a survey that was pretty involved and awesome for Toronto coders to give feedback on what lessons they would like to see and what, programming and what days and that kind of thing. And it would be cool, I think, for everyone to see everybody's surveys to find out what kind of questions people are asking and how they're bootstrapping their season of study group events. So feel free to share your surveys if you're okay with that. Just the text, you don't have to share like the answers or anything. Okay, cool. So up next, Jeff. Are you on?
Hi, can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Great. So let's see. I think like most people, we're sort of in the position of trying to finalize our fall schedule. We're close. We've got dates. We've got rooms, and I just actually sent off a proposed list of topics. So we're pretty close on that. Actually, we just finished hosting a data carpentry workshop. So it was Monday and Tuesday of this week. We had 45 people sign up. 36 showed up, and so I've got some names of people I need to follow up with. But it went really well. We only lost a few from the first day to the second day, and we kind of used that, and we're I think going to plan on doing this yearly as sort of a kickoff event and try to get people that are new to the university, and we can introduce ODR stats and then give everybody kind of a starting place with regards to learning R and learning good data practices. So that went really well. One thing we're still trying to do is sort of expand the number of people that we get to show up. And my main interest in this is getting a stable group of, since I'm adjunct at URI, it'd be great to have some folks, primarily grad students or postdocs that are going to sort of take and run with the study group. And maybe at some point I'll pass off the study lead mantle to someone else. That's my goal. But so yeah, we're going to reach out to a number of other places in the university to try to draw in new people. And then just started thinking about URI has a J term, so and people aren't required to do anything, but there are classes offered during that J term, and so thinking about doing something a little more intensive during that time, focused around R. And I have not talked with the librarians at URI yet, so that's actually a fantastic idea. And so I will. I'm going to look into that once we get off the call and see who I can reach out to. And then I have one question, and you can tell me if this is untoward for this group, but this is not really study group related. But I have a open position, and it's open science, it's development, and so where's a good place to post links to that? So if there's anybody on the call that's looking, or if you guys can spread the word widely, that would be fantastic. So is there a spot on the Etherpad where that kind of stuff is acceptable?
Yeah, I would say nonverbal updates under line 191. You can post the link to the job. And then I can also, depending on how long it's open, I can include it in our next newsletter under announcements and offers. We always like to promote jobs that are great with great institutions who support open science. So feel free to email me too if you want me to share it.
Yeah, I'll email that to you, and then I'll put it down on the nonverbal update.
Yay.
And that's all I've got now.
Thanks, Jeff. Tom, what's up?
Hello, sorry I joined late. It's orientation season here at BU, so a lot of that stuff going on. We are kind of getting organized for the fall semester, so classes don't start here until next week, so people are just arriving back on campus. And so we're actually meeting this afternoon to figure out what we want to do and how to get started. But I think we'll probably start with a social event to kick off the semester, and then start lining up some workshops. We're also trying to figure out a way to live stream our events, because I can't believe I keep getting requests for it, but they keep coming in. So we're trying to figure out a way to do it pretty cheap using our phone and some open software and YouTube. So if we ever get it to work, we thought we had a working system, but then I tried it again and it didn't work. So try again and get something going. But yeah, we're kind of just regrouping for the fall. Hope to have more updates soon.
Great, thanks. Yeah, another, so we use Hangouts on Air, which I commented on the pad, and I guess Madeline does too. Hangouts on Air are pretty great, but they're going away on September 12th. So this is like our last hurrah for Hangouts on Air. And then they're moving to YouTube Live, even though weirdly Google owns YouTube, I think, right? So it's, I don't know why they're switching services, but it has all these weird rules. Like we have to have advertisements at the beginning, like by default, unless you have 1,000 subscribers. And we only have 25 subscribers for the Mozilla Science channel. So we will never have the fame, well, probably not in the next few weeks, to make a channel that doesn't have ads, which is so sad. But yeah, I don't know. YouTube Live, I guess, is what everyone's going to now. So we'll try to figure out another free version.
Can the advertisements be like Mozilla ads?
No, you can't specify the advertisements. It's very frustrating. Like there's beer commercials at the beginning of so many things not at all related. But you know, whatever. It's a company. It's not a open source thing. So what can you expect? Right. Thank you, Tom. Rob, are you on the call? I know you're like on the telephone.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. We are also just getting spun up here and organizing sort of high level what we want to get accomplished this semester. Our goals are a little different. We have a lessons are group already on campus that sort of overlaps with a lot of the same goals that some other study groups have, but we are a little more informal, and we usually meet and collaborate on each other's projects and try to make our own projects more open science. And so we have this idea late last semester of trying to get more involved with some of our industry partners with our grad program, because they have a lot of some resources and some different experience than we sort of have in academia. So trying to create that type of connection. And then also we've had this problem where we meet up and then we all get involved and have a lot of fun, but we don't ever write anything down. So just from the get-go, we're gonna try and organize more about creating lessons on things that we do get in our study group and create a product. Contribute back. That's what we have going on.
All right, very cool. Thank you. Awesome. Sue, would you like to give your update?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Okay, good. So I'm at the Jackson Lab in Maine, and we're starting off with two different carpentry workshops. One is a data carpentry workshop, data carpentry genomics here at the end of the month in Maine, and then we'll have another one the following week on our campus in Connecticut, R for reproducible scientific analysis. And I'm going to sprinkle in a bunch of other events like a hacky hour and some work-alongs. I try to keep things going so that we have one work-along a week or one workshop every week. And we'll do that until about mid-November, when we tend to see drop-off in attendance. And then we'll pick back up again, say, mid-January. So I'll just tell you, we started in May, and one of the lessons I learned when I started this group was how hard it is to communicate, how hard it is to get the word out. I'm finally starting to figure that stuff out. And I think I found the study group handbook extremely helpful for navigating that kind of thing. So knowing that if you have, say, an email list of 100 people, you can expect only 5 or 10% participation, right?
Mm-hmm.
That rings true. So what I've approached communication through multiple channels, and this is embarrassing, but one of the most effective ones is just posting a flyer on a window or a door. And that gets people in the room, and it's really surprising. But I understand it more because you actually reach more people than you would through email. We also have an internal bulletin, that our bulletin reaches everybody, not just a select few people who are on an email list. And next week, I should say, one of our head of research is going to bring up a study group at the faculty meeting, and I'll be there to explain what's going on. So I've asked for high-level support and doing, and I've already seen a couple of faculty members sign up for our workshop at the end of the month, and I expect that a lot of other faculty will send their labs to our training events. So those are some recommendations I have to everybody to really fill the room, which is what I want, and it should be what you want as well. You want lots of participation. And I think so one other mention, and that is, I think what you're trying to do is try to you're trying to build bridges between study groups, yeah? So Tom, I'm going to put an offer out to you. I can come down and teach carpentry workshops. I'm certified. I have my own travel funding. If you want that to happen this fall or winter or spring, just let me know. And I think my Twitter handle's up top, and you can reach me through that. Otherwise, you can find me at the Jackson Lab. Okay?
Thank
Thanks.
you. That's so awesome. Thank you for offering to collaborate. Yeah, the communication and like getting the word out thing is kind of, even when you have a better platform for organizing it, like I know GitHub is kind of, people voluntarily respond to things, and when you post events, you don't get signups or anything, so you have no idea how many people to expect. But even with more complicated systems like Meetup, I run a Meetup that we use like their automated system for allowing people to RSVP, and even when people like pay $5 for, like we have a snack fund, and people sometimes, you know, we ask like for $2 or whatever in order for people to sign up. Even when they pay, sometimes you only get about 30% of the people who signed up that actually come out in New York on that day. So nobody should feel bad about it. And even for the study group calls, like I always tweet about it and I email people, and sometimes I email people individually because I really want people to attend, but we still only have about 15 people come to the calls, and we have 200 some forks. So everyone should feel fine about their events and attendance. Anyway, Danielle, would you like to give an update? Oh, you're muted.
Muted. Am I still muted?
No.
No. Okay, great. Hi, I'm at OHSU, and here we have a bunch of small independent groups that have come and gone over the last 2 years. So the Python group is the only one that's active now. So what I'd like to do is try to use the study group format to get all the people who are still here. We only have PhD students here and master's students, so they're usually like here for longer and have no classes, so they have time. So I'm excited to learn more about the format and try to use that to like get all those people. I think we could do some stuff with GitHub and data management that would be applicable to all of them. And yeah, so that's what I'd like to do this year with the study groups.
Yay, thanks for coming. Awesome. So thank you for sharing your surveys. We're on line 177. Is there anybody who wanted to give an update, by the way, that didn't already speak? Did I skip anybody? We're good? Okay, good. So thank you for sharing your surveys. That's awesome. So I have some lessons. Usually the study group calls are themed right around a topic. So I think we had a Git one last time, and before that we had one on machine learning. And I usually try to link to relevant lessons that people can use, not just the ones that are in our lessons repo, but also just other things that might supplement your classes or workshops. And for this one, because it was just a back to school episode and there's no like set language theme or anything, I've just put in a bunch of links. So there are some study group lessons. A lot of people said that they were doing social events, and that I think totally makes sense as a kickoff every year, but also like getting started with GitHub and any GitHub events, because the study group is so bound with GitHub infrastructure that it's also awesome to like level set with everybody at the beginning and get them habituated to GitHub operations, especially if you want to recruit collaborators who might take over your role or might contribute to your team of program planners. So GitHub stuff. Madeline has an awesome one, basic statistics. I think Madeline submitted that one into the issues. I think that's always great to start off with. And then I just put in a few of the 10 simple rules ones because they're easy and because they're punchy, and people see the, like if you put up a flyer that says 10 simple things, they're like, oh, it's not gonna be that long because it's 10, you know, it's not a big deal, not a big commitment. So that's how you rope them in. Nonverbal updates, Jeff has the job listed on line 195 if you're interested. If there are any new lessons that you've created that you'd like to link around line 201, that's awesome. I can even make the issue in the lessons repo if you log your issue or your lessons there. So feel free to do that. And then there's some tutorials and tools and podcasts and things that I link there as inspiration materials, or even just prerequisites. Sometimes if you're going to teach a lesson, you might, send out an email with the Khan Academy lesson on R and say like, hey, if you want to practice before you come, or like get used to some of the syntax ahead of time, feel free to use these materials. There's also some kind of creative like data visualizations of mathematical concepts and things that I linked to, and fun things like regex. Like there's a regex tutorial on line 216 that is sort of interactive and in the browser, and so that's always pretty fun. Oh, thank you, Madeline, for debugging in Python around line 202. Very nice. And then the podcasts, I listen to those sometimes on transport, and they give a lot of cool ideas for things you can teach, a lot of frameworks and stuff, especially Floss Weekly and Changelog. They interview people who are coming out with new libraries and tools, so it's sometimes cool to keep up on that. One last announcement and question I have on line 232 is that as most of you know, we redesigned our website in June and we released it, and it has a section for study groups. And before that, we never had a section on our website for study groups, or they were like linked somewhere, but they were sort of hidden. So there's a link to the page, and there's kind of a nice GUI interface for how to sign up for a study group and get started without necessarily diving into GitHub right away. But there's also a map and some details or like organized by continent, all the study groups. And they're not all the study groups. It's only about 30 study groups right now. So if your study group is missing from that search tool, please email me or put your name here so that I can make sure that I update our website with a link to your study group. Yes. It's very important to me that everyone's represented on the website. And I also know that in the handbook, there's a map that the handbook instructs you when you're reading through it to email me about being added to the map. And then I add people to the map, but that map does not match the map on our website right now because I've slowly been updating it. So yeah, I guess prod me to update it faster by emailing me if you would like to be on the map. Thank you. And that's pretty much it. We are many minutes early, and I'm happy to give you back many minutes of your day. If no one has any questions, does anyone have any lingering questions or comments?
I do have one question. I don't know if people might be able to help. It's regarding, so the rhythm we've been adopting is alternating between a workshop and then we started calling them co-working sessions. No one was showing up. But in a survey we sent out, we asked, why aren't you showing up? And we gave a few of the answers, and actually it was, the main one, although it was pretty split, was people were intimidated. And I felt like co-working session implies you have to be productive and people they're still learning and don't want to show up. So, which is unfortunate, and probably maybe also a symptom of us not properly coaching it as something for people to come and learn together. So we changed the name to something like Q&A session. And we haven't had many over the summer. We booked the summer quite extensively with workshops. And we're going to be picking up the Q&A sessions going forward. But I was wondering if any of the other study groups have, like, other than workshops, what people that usually do, is there something else? I also had an idea of if there's maybe something like a visualization clinic where you come and bring a plot and then you want to discuss the plot, its flaws, something like that. I don't know what would be most useful to input a group that would also encourage people to attend, because maybe co-working session doesn't seem to be working on our end. So I was wondering what other people's experiences were.
Go ahead.
Take a turn there. So I had sort of a similar experience with co-working sessions here at Jackson Lab. I called them hackathons, and I also called them co-working sessions. And the turnout was very light. There were maybe 2 or 3 people. There were about 2 or 3 of us, so-called experts, there to help them with their projects. The people who did show up got an amazing personal project recommendations and help. But I don't think we didn't get what we wanted out of it, which was turnout. You know, we want this to be worth our time. And the other thing that happened was that people got to know us better. They got to know that we're very willing to help, and that we also have a really hard time saying no. So like a 1 hour, 2 hour co-working session turned into a weeks-long project for some of us, where our time was sort of co-opted. And that's why I stopped doing them, because we have a hard time saying no. We like to help and we have a hard time saying no, and it actually impacted us, some of us kind of negatively, and we also didn't get the turnout we wanted. So I'm not sure how to set the boundaries on those co-working sessions to know that, to let people know that you will get help during this 1 or 2 hour session only. And you know, it's kind of hard when you're trying to build collaboration and build community to say no, enough. And I that's what we just don't offer them anymore. And I'd be interested if somebody else has had better experiences with the co-working sessions. I'd be interested in knowing how they did that. What we get good turnout on are work-alongs. So people seem to like a guided session instead of just sort of an open session. They like a guided, more formal instruction. And a coding work-along is what really seems to get people to show up. And the 2-day workshops, the carpentry workshops that we do are also very popular. But the co-working sessions we just dropped them completely. So I'd like to hear if anybody else has had success with those specifically.
Can I say something here? So we still do the co-working sessions, and we've been calling them co-working sessions, but attendance is always a lot lower for those than for the structured code-alongs. And we did we did think that maybe the name was throwing people off, because some people show up, they have a good time, and they learn things. So we have tried a few that are more structured on a topic, like a Git-based co-working session or a visualization-based co-working session. And I agree that does seem to help, that people are like, okay, we're going to talk about plotting today or something. And then it's a little more, easy to get into.
Good, thanks.
Anyone else have any suggestions or comments?
We've had a similar experience with those sessions as well, but sometimes it's okay because it's less prep work. So we kind of use them to break up the time so that the people who are a little bit more involved come and get together and do work. And then, so I've seen it as sometimes it's okay to have a lower turnout session, or a session that's designed for a smaller group, I should say.
Yeah, I agree with that.
In the new facilitation materials, which I'm going to just put I think I have the link here in the chat. I have tip sheets for running co-working sessions, and it sounds like people are doing them in a bunch of different ways, which totally makes sense. The point of study groups is that it's flexible and what works for you. I think the way that I had kind of looked at the stuff in the study group handbook and revised it a bit is that it's much less of a help session where there's experts available, but more like a hangout where in the beginning everyone sort of talks through what they're working on and what their goals are. And then there's sort of the facilitator tries to pair up people who may have common interests and goals rather than there being an expert to somebody who needs help setting. So I'm not sure if that's sort of what I distilled from some of the materials in the handbook, but I'm super interested in hearing different models for this, and it does sound like the topic-based co-working sessions, that would be a tip to add in there, that you might get more space with topics. The other thing that I was curious about is what you feel like the balance of in your study group is versus, like, is it a teaching experience for some and a learning experience for others, or is it sort of a teaching and learning experience sort of for everybody? Because I know that we also do have this sort of extensive and maybe underused instructor guide that Bill created, which is much more along the lines of a software carpentry type training. And I think we're trying to figure out what to do with those materials. It seems like one of the advantages of the study groups is it's pretty lightweight to start. You don't have to go through a ton of training. It's pretty loose and open. And nobody has to be the teacher in the study group. Everyone can kind of like co-teach, but I'm wondering if there's a push or use, like how can this materials be most useful? How do you see your study groups evolving? Is it a co-learning experience, or does it end up being a little bit more like a teacher to student experience in some circumstances? So if anyone has any thoughts on that, I'd love to hear them. I know we have 2 minutes, so maybe we could put them on in the pad, or people can comment now.
Yeah, I have a quick thought is that for some people some people are more teachers, some people are more learners, and some people are in the middle. And that's been my experience. So some people are both learning and teaching. Probably not as many as I'd like, but then some people are teaching a lot, and that's what they want. They want that experience.
Great. Well, if anyone wants to put any tips or thoughts in the pad, feel free to do it pretty much anywhere after line 234. You can even, put it in the announcement section if you want. I also find too that, at least with my meetup, that whenever we have code and coffee sessions or something, people kind of don't show up just because there's not a lot of structure, and it's the easiest thing to blow off. When you get busy during the week and you're like, I don't have time to go to something that may or may not be useful because it's sort of amorphous and I don't know who's going to show up. And if I have a question, maybe someone there isn't going to know Python enough to help me, or maybe someone there isn't going to know JavaScript, or if I really want to get something done, maybe sitting in a room with other people who might talk to me and distract me is not going to be the most efficient way to get it done. So I think it's really tough to make that feel useful to everyone. And also a lot of people, I think, come to the sessions and want to just learn, or they want to be guided, and they feel like there's a lot of pressure on them to produce when they just show up to something that's open-ended. Yeah, and also whenever I need to get something done, I feel like going to a room full of other people is just going to be a way to take way longer on getting it done than to actually be productive, because I'm going to want to chat and I'm going to want to find every excuse to not finish the project that I need to finish. So yeah, but okay, great. Thank you everyone for joining. This was great, very useful. One thing I want to mention is that I do a feature in the newsletter every month where I profile a study group, and I just ask you to send me 2 sentences about your study group with a link to your study group and what you're excited about or what you have questions on, and I put that in the newsletter. If you would like to be featured, and I would love you to want to be featured, please email me or put your name on line 257, because I don't have anyone for October's newsletter and I would love to profile someone new. Yay, Bruno! Bruno, you're the hero. You're the hero of the story. Yay. Oh, in December. Wow. Okay. Yeah, sure. That works.
Sorry, I'm busy for the next 2 months, but I would love to.
Okay, cool.
Sure.
All right, I'll reach out to you then. Cool. And MCs are always something that I try to solicit for every call, that people who aren't me. So if you would like to be an MC, which you don't have to do anything really except show up like you do and then read through the pad and like point to people to speak when they want to speak. So that's around line 270. If you're interested, please put your name there. I would be so grateful and so happy if someone would volunteer for that. That's all. Does anyone else have any questions, updates, or anything? No, we're good? All right. Happy Friday. Happy long weekend for some people. Those in Canada, I'm not sure. But we love you anyway. Bye.
Bye.